Real Estate Talk is provided for general information only and should not be treated as a substitute for professional advice. Please consult your trusted financial advisor, real estate professional, or attorney before making any real estate or financial decisions. Please remember, when following advice, your results may vary, and all information covered here is not intended to cover all aspects of the subject material, but rather a sample of issues the hosts and guests consider important. And now, Real Estate Talk with your host, Victoria Rivadeneira. Each week, Victoria gathers some of the best minds in the business to provide both professionals and non-professionals with the inside tips and tools to make smarter deals. Whether you're a buyer or seller, Real Estate Talk will give you the competitive advantage you need. And now, here's Victoria Rivadeneira.
Thank you and welcome to Real Estate Talk. We live stream on Facebook.com/Victoria RIVA from New York's AM 710 WOR from iHeart Studios every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're watching us on Facebook, let us know by commenting, or better yet, send us some likes or some love. We really like love. Send us love. Real Estate Talk airs every Sunday morning on AM 710, and our podcast can be found on retalkradio.com. I said it right this time, Phil.
Well done.
Thank you. I'm Victoria Rivadeneira, and I'm here with Phil Ferranda, who is my co-host, and we are also here with our attorney co-host, Lior Aldad.
Hello.
How are you
there.
guys today?
All right, fabulous.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you.
So here's the question, Phil. Does the real estate market drive the economy, or does the economy drive the market?
I'm very glad you asked that question, and you enunciated it perfectly. I think I should ask our guest that, because he knows the answer.
Well, we have an amazing guest today.
We do. And I'm going to introduce our guest right now.
Okay. Well, what are we talking about today?
We're going to be talking to an economist. We're going to be talking about
a chief economist.
A big deal economist,
yes.
All right? Ted C. Jones, chief economist at Stewart Title Guarantee Company, also a senior vice president, has been got his Ph.D. and master's from Texas A&M, where he was the chief economist for the world's largest publicly funded real estate research group. I should say that if his LinkedIn page had a soundtrack, it would be Beethoven. We don't have that. We have something else.
But you know what?
What?
What I heard? He brought his own music. BYOM.
All right.
Taking care of business. Taking care of
You know we have a good guest when they bring their own music.
When you bring in Bachman-Turner Overdrive, it gets serious.
It does. So,
This
Dr.
isn't
Ted,
I'm
you're
not done yet.
finished?
I am not done.
I have a question.
An accomplished speaker. He gives more than 150 presentations a year. He is a past member of the National Association of Realtors, the Texas and the Houston Association of Realtors. He's a big deal. He's a smart, funny guy. And in the pre-discussion of the show, I thought we were going to get along just fine, and I'm seldom wrong. So welcome, Doctor.
Honored to be here. Thank you all very
yes,
much.
thank you very much. So, the question that I just gave to Phil, which he did not answer because you're in the room. Does the real estate market drive the economy, or does the economy drive the real estate market?
It's all about jobs. The real estate economy is driven by the job market.
Okay.
Housing, whether it's rental or ownership, even commercial real estate, is a function of supply and demand. You only have demand if you have a job. Now, I've always said this. There's three kinds of people that purchase homes that don't have jobs. They have blue hair, gray hair, or no hair. They're retirees that live in Florida and those places like that. Other than that, for most of us, we need a job to either rent or own a house. And as a result, it's all about jobs. Jobs are everything, period.
So what are you trying to say?
It's all about jobs, man. And now
I think it's pretty clear on this.
And that's one of the reasons we're looking right now at a really healthy real estate economy across the United States of America. While our job growth in the latest 12 months is 1.50%, that's nationwide. And that, by the way, that's tepid. We really should be well above 2%. But our unemployment rate today is the lowest it's been in 16 years at 4.6%.
That's interesting.
But since we're in New York, let's just talk about, remember the 1.5% in the U.S. If you look at New York City, Jersey City, White Plains, that job growth rate's 1.98%. So you're growing jobs a little more than 30% better than the U.S. And if you look at New York, Newark, Jersey City, that job growth's 1.56%. So it's a tiny bit ahead of the U.S. So those markets, your primary market here, are doing extremely well.
And as usual, Jersey brings us down. Thanks, Jersey.
They say it is the armpit of America.
Hey, now. No.
Sorry, Bill.
No.
No, I'm actually a really big fan of New Jersey. I love New Jersey. The Garden State.
I am very pro jug handle myself, but the overriding point is that we're in a healthy job market, and that is driving a good housing market, and that is driving a good economy, and that is reason for optimism on the economic front.
It really is. And, whether you like the current president or don't like him, he is deregulating a lot. And as you deregulate, it makes it easier for small business to produce jobs. Small businesses are defined as those businesses that have less than 300 total people. I think that defines you, doesn't it?
That would define me.
And probably your firm.
Indeed, yes.
And so they produce up to 70% of all net new jobs. And a large amount of restrictions in the last 10 years have been an onerous amount of regulations that have come over these individuals. And anything you can do to deregulate that makes it easier for a small business to operate, they'll create more jobs. And that's the optimism that we have today in the U.S. economy. That's why the stock market went up after Trump was elected, because they thought you don't have to do anything but deregulate, which he's taking care of. And, again, that's going to help small business. And my premise is it's all about jobs, and that's very, very important.
But it makes a lot of sense, if I may, because if somebody has the income coming in, right, and then somebody's making those bonuses and somebody's able to put money aside for savings, then obviously they can buy a better home and try and relocate to that more convenient area, wherever it may be, or they're able to afford their current real estate property. So
it's all about jobs, period.
Better income means a better crib.
Exactly.
There you go.
As we say in the real estate parlance.
Love it.
I love that. That's great. So we talked about some of the states that are doing well with job growth. Let's touch on some of the cities across the U.S.
I want to take you to Fort Collins, Colorado.
Okay.
And Fort Collins is kind of one of these new tech centers across the United States. We always think of tech as San Jose, California, Silicon Valley. Now, all of a sudden, you're looking at Salt Lake City and Orem, Provo, Utah. You're looking at Austin, Texas. We're looking at Fort Collins, Colorado. Fort Collins job growth in the latest 12 months is 6.76%.
Wow.
That's
incredible.
That's more than 4 times the U.S. You throw in Elkhart, Goshen, Indiana, they're 5.76%. Lake Charles, Louisiana, a little over 5%.
Now, are they all being driven by tech?
Some of those are driven by tech. Louisiana, for example, is being driven, believe it or not, by casinos and petrochemical industry. One of the things we all think about housing. We never think that energy is one of our next largest costs.
Truly.
And what we have today, it's taking place nationwide, is we have incredibly affordable energy today. And as a result, not only do we have cheap energy, we have cheap inputs for things like the plastics industry and what have you, whether it's refineries or anything else like that. So you look at Louisiana, they're actually booming because this explosive growth in the petrochemical industry, new plastic plants, things like that. Again, it's all about jobs, and those people buy and rent houses. And hence what you were talking about, it's all about jobs. You make more money, you can buy a better crib. I love it.
Exactly.
You can use that.
We can use it.
We only have to give him credit the first time you use it. After that, it's yours.
All right, so we're still wringing out the last bits of the ghost economy, right? The shadow inventory. We're in a recovery for sure. It is, in my opinion, an uneven recovery because I see red hot areas like the areas you alluded to. The closer, for example, locally we get to New York City, the hotter the market is. So the southern suburbs, the outer boroughs, very hot. But when you get to the exurbs, it's still kind of cold. It's still pretty rough out there. The recovery domino, as I'd like to call it, hasn't fallen yet up there.
No.
I think it's a supply and demand thing. You could speak better than that to supply and demand because you're the economist. Is that why? Is it because we need to build more houses in the hot areas and that sort of thing? So
yeah, we ideally we'd love to build houses in the hot areas. But what we have, for example, in New York City is, first of all, let's say we wanted to build a new apartment tower or a new co-op tower. Odds are, if we want to start that today, it's going to be 12 years before we rent our first apartment.
True.
So that lag changes. I live in Houston, Texas. It's the largest city in the United States of America that has no planning or zoning. If I want to build that condo tower, I'll probably have that approval in 2 weeks and start construction, not 12 years. And we'll get it done in 2 years. So we have these lags built into it. And the more regulation and control you have, the probably more out of kilter your housing market is. Because if you can't address the new demand, can't deliver inventory to that, then you're going to see prices do what they're doing. And we talked earlier today, just kind of informally beforehand. Let's look at the markets that are just hotter than hot today. Denver, Colorado. We're literally seeing the median price home in Denver, Colorado approaching $500,000.
Wow.
Hot market, very strong job growth, very difficult to build. Planning, zoning, permitting issues, very expensive land costs. And as a result, we're just falling further and further behind. And people have jobs there because of the big job growth. And as a result, they can afford to either rent or own. And a lot of them are preferring to own, and they're driving those prices up on a limited inventory of homes. It's all about the interaction of supply and demand.
Is that the same problem they're having in California because there's just the regulation is preventing them from building additional housing stock?
Not only is it that same problem, a couple of years ago I was at a site in Los Angeles. It was the old Howard Hughes air plant site. And what it was is a big runway. And down each side were these warehouses where we built aircraft, and they'd fly them out of there. Well, that shut down back in the 1950s and 60s. And the developer wanted to redevelop this. Think about this. It's not that far from Malibu Beach. Mm-hmm. Great location. Big tract of land that never becomes available. It took them 22 years to get the planning, zoning, and entitlements approved. So that land sat there tied up under government regulations for 22 years. And as a result, if it takes that long to build new stuff, you and I both know that we're not going to keep up with demand for housing. And we're looking in Los Angeles at very good job growth. Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego, it just goes on. Sacramento, Seattle, it goes on. And if you can't meet that supply, then prices or rents increase or both. Now, let's go back to New York City. What we're seeing here, because of the mass amount of construction that's taken place with the deliveries this year, we're going to look at 20,000 new units being delivered in Manhattan Island in the next 12 months. As a result, we aren't seeing rents on those apartments go up. So the consumer has a benefit at this point in time.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that investors who used to come to New York to park their money and get the return on investment with the rental market are currently very leery in putting their money in New York because of the prospective huge expected inventory, and maybe it's going to drive the rental market down.
It's good if you're a renter.
Exactly. If you're a renter, opt on it.
Yeah. You need to talk to a really good real estate agent to see what your options are on renting. If you currently rent, you may find a better alternative elsewhere, particularly in some of these brand new, getting ready to come online buildings. Now, y'all are in New York City. I live in Houston, Texas. And we've had this real estate downturn demand-wise because of the cheap oil. I mean, we went from $120 a barrel to $30-some a barrel. Unfortunately, we continue building as many Class A apartments as we used to build at $120 a barrel. We're kind of like y'all that we're seeing rents actually decline. And so it gives the renter an option. Oh, and it also gives that person that wants to own a high-rise, I don't have to own it. I can rent it for the next 2 or 3 years. Cheap as I can own it. I'm going to go try that and give it a test drive.
Oh, boy.
So here's the question. Is it better to rent sometimes than it is to buy?
You know, my big issue is because of the transaction costs related in real estate, you really need to plan to be there at least 3 years to consider purchasing. Do you agree with that as a real estate
3 to 5 years, I would say.
3 to 5 years. Now, I'm doing 3 years because I'm looking at Dallas with a very high appreciation rate. You're looking at a maybe a little longer payback on that. So we're all going to agree with this. We're all saying the same thing, but it's market specific. It also tells me if you are looking at real estate, remember most of us buy a house maybe 5-6 times maximum in our life. The average last year, the average home seller that sold in 2016 were that home 7.88 years. Yeah. So you kind of work that out over
That's
your
what
lifetime.
they say, between 7 and 10 years.
There you go.
Carry the one, yeah.
Carry the one. There we go. I like that. Yeah. Get my iPhone out.
If you're on a high fiber diet, you might, buy more houses over the course of your lifetime, unless you're an organic farmer. I'm sorry, I digress.
Yes.
So
you do that often.
But I think it's so important that you talk to a professional in that marketplace that can talk to you about expected appreciation or current appreciation rates, about new supply coming online.
But on the other hand, if I may, since the interest rates are so low, if you do your calculations, you may be ahead of the game by owning versus renting.
That's actually where I was going with the original question. And right now with the interest rates, they are low, and we're expecting them to go up. Yes or no?
Yes.
Well, they can't go down more.
I know it's basically almost free money.
They can't go down more without getting a bloody nose. So, we can't have that. Yes. So it's the largest transaction in most people's lives. As you correctly said prior to the show, it's usually the largest asset that someone controls. The transaction costs, especially I would say in New York, are higher than average. For a $500,000 house, you could spend $20,000 on purchase-related closing costs and fees and tax escrows and impounds. That's an awful lot of money to have to make back.
Right. But if you're buying a co-op, if I may just clarify, if you're buying a co-op, there is no mortgage tax and there is no title insurance, so the acquisition of a co-op is slightly less expensive.
There's more mobility in co-ops, I would say.
Yes. Although
But when you're buying a co-op, you're not really buying real estate.
You're buying shares of stocks of a corporation. But on the other hand, you have to be scrutinized and approved by the co-op board, unlike in a condo where they have a right of first refusal, or when you buy a house or a townhouse and you're outright an owner without any scrutiny. So it depends.
Those co-op boards can be brutal.
They are, especially on the in Manhattan in certain areas. Wink, wink.
True that. So 5 or 6. But get to your point. Let me allow you to go on to your point before us rude New Yorkers interrupted you. We're making about 5 or 7 transactions in our life.
Yes.
All right.
So always deal with a local professional that understands that marketplace like the back of their hand.
And
here I am. I'm a realtor. I'm a realtor myself.
Mm-hmm.
I always hire the local market professional, the realtor, the real estate agent, the broker, to assist me in those transactions.
The lawyer.
Right.
The lawyer. Oh, never. Counsel, let me tell you this. Never, ever enter the largest transaction you're ever going to do in your lifetime without good legal counsel.
Absolutely.
Am I correct?
never go to a gunfight with a knife.
Well, I'm from Texas. Bring 2 guns.
Minimum.
Meet my lawyer, gun number 1 and gun number 2.
Exactly.
Right. And real estate is local.
It's all
So
local.
you do need the local professional.
I agree with that. Even on the commercial transactions. You know, we're looking at, we're in Manhattan today and we're talking housing, but let's talk retail real estate. If you go down Fifth Avenue, we've actually seen in ground floor retail space on Fifth Avenue, we've seen asking rents drop as much as 26%.
So let me ask you a question. Since you're saying that you should hire the local expert to represent you, and if you're buying an all-cash acquisition, should you hire your own independent appraiser to confirm what you're being informed by the experts?
Oh, yeah. And remember, I'm a reformed appraiser. I used to own my own appraisal company. I've done appraisal work for companies such as GE and Boeing Aircraft and what have you. And you used to do a lot of houses in ski areas in Aspen and Telluride. And
that's very impressive, I must say.
But you really need that. Again, it's going to be that local expert appraiser. And you and I talked about this earlier. It has to be that person that knows that market area.
Right.
I think on housing, it's very difficult to walk into a neighborhood you've never been in and understand the motives of the buyers and sellers and what drives value, that amenity is necessary here and the others are not. Those are very, very important items.
And what's planned as well.
Oh,
Only
yeah.
the local people will know that.
Well, and now let's talk about schools.
Mm-hmm.
You know, schools. One of my blogs, and y'all need to read my blogs.
How do we read your blog?
Oh, just Google Jones on Real Estate, and it'll take you right to Stewart.com and my blog.
Jones on Real Estate.
That's me, yeah.
All right.
Hey, that's a play on words. I see what you did there.
But one of them showed that the only thing worse than a bad school district in a neighborhood is a strip club. It shows you how important the quality schools are. And you know what? That local real estate professional can tell you about the quality of those schools.
I seem to recall a correlation between a Starbucks nearby as well.
Well, I don't drink coffee. I drink
Well, that's
iced
because
tea.
they do the demographic research.
Yeah, they do that.
Yeah, they're actually going where the market is.
Right.
It's not the Starbucks that causes the value. Exactly.
Yeah, well,
right.
that's not what a lot of people believe, but we understand
Cause and
that.
effect. Cause and
Yes.
effect.
100%. So when we come back, we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to ask Dr. Ted C. Jones, who's here in the house with us, about millennials. And he said, are you ready for this, Leor? He said that he has some interesting facts about millennials in this market right now. I'm Victoria Rivadeneira. I'm here with Leor Aldad, and I'm also here with Phil Ferranda, and you're listening to Real Estate Talk from New York's WOR from iHeart Studios.
Hi, this is Tom Marinaro, the president of Residential Home Funding, a top East Coast mortgage company. Now is the time to buy a home before interest rates go up. Lock in with a low rate today, or turn your current home into an asset by cashing in on its equity. Why rent when you can own? Why not get cash out of your home now? So call me right now at 1-800-636-LEND. And as a bonus, if you call me right now, I will waive all of my lender fees. That's right, zero lender fees, saving you thousands of dollars. This offer is for purchasing or refinancing a home. Call me and learn more at 1-800-636-LEND. Residential funding is part of the New York and New Jersey Departments of Banking and Insurance. Our NMLS number is 36152. The number once again is 1-800-636-LEND. That's 1-800-636-LEND.
Do you know what to look for when choosing a title company? It's important to find a provider with years of experience, solid financial backing, and proven expertise on all types of transactions. With Stewart Title Company, you get that. We've been protecting real estate titles since 1893. That long history, along with our sound financial picture, is your assurance of our knowledge and title expertise. Our underwriters are known as being industry leaders. They're responsive, like a good partner should be. And with Stewart Title offices being located worldwide, we can provide title and closing expertise anywhere you need it. Why not let Stewart Title help you close more transactions? Visit Stewart.com to learn more.
Every loan has a story, a family, and a dream that fuels it. My name is Jacqueline Sendra, mortgage loan originator number 39117, specializing in first-time homebuyer financing and an array of mortgage products. We recognize the importance of competitive rates and a custom-tailored mortgage loan to suit your needs. United Northern Mortgage Bankers Ltd. celebrates over 37 years of mortgage banking success. Allow us to help you achieve your dream of homeownership by reaching out to me today at 631-478-2706. Again, 631-478-2706. United Northern Mortgage Lenders Ltd. NMLS number 7230 is an equal housing lender and a licensed mortgage banker located at 3601 Hempstead Turnpike, Suite 300, Levittown, New York 11756, New York State Department of Financial Services.
For more real estate talk, download our free podcast at retalkradio.com. Now back to Victoria Rivadeneira.
And we're back. If you're joining us now, you can listen to our entire show by going to our podcast found on retalkradio.com. We're talking about the economy with Dr. Ted C. Jones. And just before we went to the break, you said that you were going to share with us some interesting facts about millennials.
Well, first of all, I want to talk about boomers. I'm a boomer. And I want to put millennials in perspective of boomers, because up until now, the boomers have been the driving force of the U.S. economy. But that's now history.
They used to be the largest generation, but not anymore.
Boomers, intriguing thing, boomers the only group that the U.S. Census has defined you're a boomer if you're born between these years. No one else has ever done that. So very often you'll see one quote about millennial numbers, another quote about millennial numbers. They will not agree. That's because they're going to use different dates. But boomers, there's 76 million of us boomers. We're all born between 1946 and 1964. I'm going to tell you all this, boomers out there, sorry about this. Every one of us boomers are going to die. And, years ago we thought when the boomers went away, so would the housing market and the stock market, because all the 401ks. And that's just the opposite. And I'm going to look at millennials between the ages of 19 and 35. There happens to be 83 million millennials.
You have to go like that, 83 million.
83 million, all right. It is 83 million. And if you go down to the age of 16, there's 91 million millennials. And what's amazing about millennials last year, even though the largest number of millennials are age 25, then 24, then 26, the most common age of the first-time home buyer, according to the National Association of Realtors, is 31. Mm-hmm. Yet millennials last year in 2016 became the largest home buying segment in the existence of the U.S. They buy more homes than any other age group demographic.
And there's a lot of myths about that. There's a lot of people out there saying that millennials are not buying real estate, that they do not believe in the market, and that is so not true.
CBRE, a big commercial company, last year did a 13,000 millennial survey global, 2,000 included in the U.S. And
13,000?
13,000,
Okay.
Yeah. That's a big survey, guys.
That's a big survey.
We think if you have 500, we can tell you pretty much what the answer is.
That's a representative sample.
Very representative sample. That's big, yeah. PhD in finance, minor in statistics. It's a big sample.
That's a big sample.
That's Texas-sized sample right there. That's what that is.
A Texas-sized sample.
Right.
I like that.
So anyway, what we found out is that global, 49% of millennials still live at home. Not as many in the U.S.
And that's why they're getting the bad rap.
Well, but remember, they're young.
Yes.
And
I think that's what we're failing to really look at.
And of those that don't live at home, 64% rent. And of those 64% rent, 63% want to be homeowners. Mm-hmm. Oh, and by the way, that's the national homeownership rate today of us boomers and what have you. So I'm just trying to tell you, millennials are no different. Now, they may want to rent or own a different type property. They may not want that.
They don't want the big McMansions anymore.
That's exactly right.
I'll tell you what I'm finding. I'm finding as an attorney that many times we have the younger individuals buying, but they're buying because they're being gifted the house, or they're buying because their parents are so-called gifting them the funds, or they're buying because the parents told them, buy it under your name and get a deduction, and we'll subsidize the deposit, the 20% if it's 80-20, or whatever it may be. So I'm not sure. And then some of them obviously make it on their own and bring their own funds.
That's always happened, though. I mean, gifting came with the baby boom. I mean, gifting, seller concessions, that came when baby boomers were young.
The older generation always takes care of the younger generation.
Yeah. Right. So my question is it a skewed statistics where you're saying they own a large amount of property, but do they own because of, or do they own because of?
We don't care. We don't care because of what they own. We care that they own.
As long as I get my commission check, I don't care where the money came from.
You're a realtor. You're an attorney. I'm a
Did I say that out loud?
Tell us what you really feel,
I said that out loud.
You're a realtor, attorney, title guys, and lady here, Victoria. We want the transaction to ding our cash registers. And as a homeowner, remember, the home is typically the largest single share of wealth in a typical household. So it's very important. Now, one of my tweets, how many of y'all tweet?
We tweet.
We tweet. Good, cool.
We tweet, yeah.
Y'all out there.
I have tweeted.
Tweeted, man. Okay. So you can follow me on my Twitter account, DRTCJ, Dr. Ted C. Jones, DRTCJ. And one of my tweets from yesterday noted that among millennials, 63% are getting a conventional loan, which says to me that's kind of like 20% down payment. Only 32% are getting FHAs, which are as low as 3% down. So we're seeing more and more millennials actually taking the big conventional fixed rate loan.
Right.
And coming in with that 20%
Yeah,
down.
we're coming with that 20% down or other things that get them there. Mm-hmm. And so that says they're real serious. Now, millennials, on the other hand, remember, they're still different than you and I. First of all, they're very young.
Mm-hmm.
But
what are you trying to say there, Ted?
Well,
thanks.
I'm actually excited about millennials because they're going to be the largest economic driving force the world has ever seen. And you need to understand
agreed.
that. And a lot of people are down on millennials. I'm just the opposite. I'm excited about millennials.
Yes.
I feel the same way.
I do too. And I really do think they get a bad rap. But then again, once, exactly what we said before, the older generation is always taking care of the younger generation,
right.
But the older generation is also always very
annoyed
with the younger generation.
Let's say innovative.
Okay.
Change is bad for any of us that are old, and we're going that. But there was a survey done June last year. It was done by Open Market. They're an online document company. They surveyed 500 millennials. Now, most of us have a smartphone, right?
Yes.
And you and I call this our phone. A lot of millennials call it their device because they see it as a lot more than just the phone. In fact, for a lot of them, it's their computer, too, if you think about it. They have the big phones, which are the big functions.
Yes.
Some of us have
I'm in
cases
agreement
too,
of
Ted.
that.
Some of us have cases.
Yeah.
Some of us aren't as errant and dropping their phones as others might be.
Oh,
too.
I'm a dude.
I'm a dude
totally
too.
guilty.
I hate to say this. I've never dropped my iPhone here, but that said,
I like where you're going with this. I know what you're
so
going
anyway,
to say.
this open market, they surveyed 500 millennials, and they said, "Would you mind if we removed the phone function from your device?" Now, for us boomers, we would feel naked if we removed the. I mean, that's what I use it for, is the phone. All I do occasional email and text and twit and all that kind of tweet. See what you did to me here.
Gotcha. Mission accomplished.
75% of the millennials said that they would not mind missing the phone function from their device.
Yes. And I have to share this. And I know Bill is in our studio today, so he can definitely verify what I'm about to say. I think I'm a millennial. I do. I'm not a millennial, but I think I am. And I never use my phone. And if you leave me a voicemail, I will never listen to it.
Oh, that's the rest of this survey.
Yes.
19% of the millennials in this survey said they never, ever check their voicemail. So if you're an attorney or a realtor or anyone involved, a lender in the lending process, on a closing process, never, ever leave a millennial a voicemail about their closing, because 1 out of 5 odds they will not be able to close on that because they didn't get the message.
That's right.
Some people, what I heard they do is they intentionally keep their voice box full.
That would be me.
And they say, please email or text me. Do not leave. You can't. You
I
can't
give
even
very specific instructions. If you call my phone and you get my voicemail, it will tell you, please text me.
Correct.
And then it will say, voicemail is full.
Exactly.
And you know the text that I get? Your voicemail is full.
Empty your voicemail.
Yes.
So you are indeed a millennial. You're functioning as one.
Yes.
But you're also functioning probably more efficient. And this is...
Well, thank you. You hear that, Bill? I'm efficient.
And everything is documented from a legal perspective, because if
I have it in writing.
There you go.
I love this on the attorney side. That's why it's so important. You can never do a show like this without a good attorney. Real estate-wise. Very, very important. That's a neat
You
to have
see?
there. So we need to look at this in the real estate transaction process. But millennials are going to be driving our economy, and I'm not worried where they're going to drive it to at all.
Me either.
It's going forward. I mean, they are they're the thing, and that's why everybody's talking about them.
And the city and the state are happy too, because we have more transactions, so there's more taxes, more city transfer tax, state transfer tax, mortgage tax. So the economy overall is developing and growing.
And remember this too, that we were talking New York here. I live in Texas. There is no transfer tax. There is no mortgage tax. There is no transaction tax.
Oh, that must be nice, huh?
Yeah.
I want to be there.
You have pretty good roads too.
We may all follow you home
we
today.
do have good roads, but we have a lot of toll roads being built. They're going to get us one way or the other.
Pay for it one way or the other.
Now that said, remember that I just said we don't have those taxes. We don't have a state income tax for corporations or individuals, but my property tax is about 3% of my value per year, and I'm willing to bet your property taxes are a little bit less than, or quite a bit less than that. So one way or the other, there's no such thing as a free lunch. You're going to get dinged one way or the other.
Okay, so I want to ask about a pet peeve that I have, all right, because we have an appraiser
Another
in the house.
one?
We have an appraiser in the house, and that is this. So one of the things millennials love is technology and automation and everything like that. Lenders seem to love that also. Lenders have a thing about automated values being such a part of their business model, instead of just sending an appraiser out to value something. Why is that? Why is it Zillow, CoreLogic, institutions? Why do they want an algorithm to value property instead of a real professional?
Because it does it consistently, even though it may be very inaccurate. So, for example, let's talk about where most of this data comes from. Go to your local tax assessor. Your tax assessor knows when it was built, number of square feet, what the general amenities were when it was built. But that may not have been updated. You may be looking at a house in Long Island, for example.
Yeah.
They may have just done a $120,000 gourmet kitchen remodel. That will not be reflected in that automated valuation model, AVM. I'm an appraiser by trade. Remember, a PhD in finance, minor statistics, so I actually build AVMs. I actually want a local real estate appraiser that walks through that house.
Absolutely.
That understands that market. They need to understand that a pool adds or doesn't add this amount of value. They need to understand that the penthouse is X more valuable than the third floor. And that is all local in nature.
Inner beauty.
Without question. So I literally want the actual local appraiser to walk that. You cannot underemphasize local experience appraiser. I've always said this, that a real estate agent or broker knows more about values than most people, because they've been in every one of those homes. They knew what amenities were there. They also knew, more important, the motives of the buyer and seller.
They know what's going on. They have boots on the ground, as we say, right?
And who determines the prices? The buyer, and they're working with the buyers on a daily basis.
And that's why I'm going to go back to it. I never walk into a market that, even though I feel I'm a very competent real estate professional, I'm going to enlist the aid of that local real estate agent, realtor, broker, to help me with that transaction. And I'm more than willing to pay them for that, because you
get what you pay
return on
for.
investment. Exactly. You actually get more than you pay for. My attorney over here will tell you about the bad deals that people,
absolutely,
uninformed. And again, always have the attorney on the side of this thing too, because you've got to have that legal counsel on this. So I'm all in favor of that. Now let's go back to the assessor. One of the questions I had just last week. My house is assessed at, and this is Texas, my house is assessed at $250,000. I thought it was worth more than that. It probably is. worth more than that. Remember, the only people that claim that actually go after their assessed values are those that are overassessed. If you're paying too much, then you say it's not worth that, and you prove it based on current market sales.
Especially in the commercial sector, too. In the commercial sector, we have attorneys who specialize in reducing assessed values / reducing your taxes, and they work on commission, and it's called the certiorari proceedings.
I actually teach every year for the Institute of Professionals in Taxation. We teach the intermediate property tax course. It's being held in Denver right now. IPT is the name of the group that does this. And we actually teach corporations, professional real estate staffs how to accurately defend and appeal their real estate appraisals on the assessment side. But now let's go back to this. A lot of times on assessors, they've never been in that property ever.
Ever.
You
can't go into every property.
And so not only that, let's defend our assessors. They're dealing a bare bones staff. Well, how many millions of properties in New York City alone does a staff of a couple of hundred have to assess every year? So what you do is you look at general trends, you run it through the AVM model, and you get that. So you get consistency above all else, even if it's consistently incorrect. But you get consistency, and as long as no one's assessed over the market value, odds are, or same house assessed not more than their neighbors, that's a principal equalization, then you're not going to be quiet. But don't ever look at assessed values or AVMs, automated value models, as the ultimate definitive answer of what the property is worth. The real answer
that
is,
right there is it.
Yeah.
The real answer is?
Real answer is whatever willing buyer and seller would sell that property and buy it for, based on current market conditions. And
I think the market value, whatever that means, is the true value of the property.
It is, and we actually define that as the highest price in terms of money the willing buyer or seller would
there
transact
you
the
go.
property with normal consideration for mortgages and all that kind of stuff.
I want to make a poster of that and frame it.
Yeah.
Because automated valuations have caused so many headaches and killed, by the way, drive-by appraisals, outside drive-by stuff have probably cost millions, if not billions of dollars in lost revenue for financial institutions who save $100 on the appraisal side, but then have a
pay for it on the other
side.
Yeah,
they it's a $600,000 house. They erroneously think it's worth $7,000, so it doesn't sell, and then they end up getting 3 years later $450,000.
Yeah.
How did you save money there?
You lost money. Not only did you lose the $50,000, you had your money tied up for 3 additional years. You had to maintain that property, pay property taxes, do maintenance fees, electricity, the whole works.
And people's lives are disrupted.
Without question. I'm a big believer, and I'm going to go back to my counsel, my attorney over here. What you said is, if I'm going to pay cash, I'm probably going to hire my own independent appraiser to do an assessment on that. I would have, or
why wouldn't you? You have to protect your investment.
Or I'm going to at least talk to a real estate broker or agent who is so active in that market, they know like the back of their hand what values are in that neighborhood. They know whether the swimming pool adds or detracts to value, those type things. Again, let's go to the consummate market professional. Now, automated valuation models, AVMs, do I like them? Sure. I think they're brilliant when you're doing a HELOC, home equity line of credit.
Yeah.
Where first of all, you're only going to risk.
It doesn't really matter.
Now,
it's a guesstimate.
You already have. 30,
I agree.
You already have 30% equity in the property, so it's really not a loss. No one's going to walk away from that. So from that perspective, I don't have a problem. But if it's your primary dwelling or if it's a big investment, by the way, every house is a big investment. I want that local market expert
and also,
knowledge.
Also in New York, above a certain value of a loan or an acquisition, they request 2 appraisals. The bank is requesting now a double appraisal to make sure that the first one wasn't incorrect, and they're able to rely on the average of both or the higher of both or the lower of both, whatever it may be. But sometimes double appraisals are necessary.
Can't find fault with that.
So if you're doing $1 million property, what's in the $500 for another appraisal?
True.
To me, that's just
it's
smart.
Just smart due
smart
diligence.
Money. You nailed it.
Right?
Without question. Yep.
Right. Exactly what I said. Why wouldn't you do it? You're stepping over $1 to pick up a penny if you're not doing it.
But we have, for the better part of the last decade, seen banks kill a lot of sales because they do this round-robin nonsense, drive-by BPO, broker price opinion,
incorrect.
Where some disaffected failed agent who has no other way of earning money than to just do these broker price opinions, doing a
which is
botched
not an
job.
appraisal.
It's not an appraisal. It's just a botched price per square foot robotic piece of garbage that I wouldn't wipe my rear end with, and then they kill the transaction. They screw up lives, all right? The bank has a non-performing asset. The sale gets killed. Nobody wins, but they got their $50. And yes, I said that.
You get all right.
You get what
Two
you pay
terms
for.
around. You get what you pay for, and there's no such thing as a free lunch. And both those come up and slap us in the face on what you're talking about today.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. I agree. So we have to go to a break. So when we come back, I am going to ask you, Dr. Ted C. Jones, I'm going to give you your official title there, your official name, about appraisals. Since we're on the topic of appraisals, I want to talk about improvements. Because there's a lot of controversy with some of these improvements. I'm Victoria Rivadeneira. I'm here with Lior Aldad and J. Philip Ferranda, and we are in iHeart Studios in New York City.
Every loan has a story, a family, and a dream that fuels it. My name is Jacqueline Sendra, mortgage loan originator number 39117, specializing in first-time homebuyer financing and an array of mortgage products. We recognize the importance of competitive rates and a custom-tailored mortgage loan to suit your needs. United Northern Mortgage Bankers Ltd. celebrates over 37 years of mortgage banking success. Allow us to help you achieve your dream of homeownership by reaching out to me today at 631-478-2706. Again, 631-478-2706. United Northern Mortgage Lenders Ltd. NMLS number 7230 is an equal housing lender and a licensed mortgage banker located at 3601 Hempstead Turnpike, Suite 300, Levittown, New York 11756, New York State Department of Financial Services.
This is Paul Oster, the nation's credit repairman, and I want to help you improve your credit. As the CEO of Better Qualified, I've helped thousands of people over the past 10 years. I'm the credit expert for Fox Business News and all the major networks. I'm a certified FICO Pro that uses the consumer laws to help delete negative information off of credit reports. We have a debt elimination program that focuses on the laws surrounding collections, judgments, and charge-offs. You could be entitled to up to $1,000 per violation. Call now for your free credit consultation. 888-533-8138. That number again, 888-533-8138, or visit us on the web at betterqualified.com.
Hi, this is Tom Marinaro, the president of Residential Home Funding, a top East Coast mortgage company. Now is the time to buy a home before interest rates go up. Lock in with a low rate today, or turn your current home into an asset by cashing in on its equity. Why rent when you can own? Why not get cash out of your home now? So call me right now at 1-800-636-LEND. And as a bonus, if you call me right now, I will waive all of my lender fees. That's right, zero lender fees, saving you thousands of dollars. This offer is for purchasing or refinancing a home. Call me and learn more at 1-800-636-LEND. Residential funding is part of the New York and New Jersey Departments of Banking and Insurance. Our NMLS number is 36152. The number once again is 1-800-636-LEND. That's 1-800-636-LEND.
RETalkRadio.com is your portal for cutting-edge information to give you an advantage in the competitive real estate market. Now, back to Real Estate Talk with Victoria Rivadeneira.
And we're back. If you're joining us right now, you can listen to our entire show by going to our podcast found at retalkradio.com. We are in the studio right now with Dr. Ted C. Jones. He is the chief economist for Stewart Title, and we are talking about the economy. And just before we went to break, I know you said you are a recovering appraiser.
I am.
And I'd like to talk to you about some improvements that homeowners make to their homes.
Okay, so some improvements add values and some don't. Actually, if you're selling your home, the one thing you must do is listen to your realtor, because they're going to tell you this rug needs replaced. If you got a dirty, tatted rug, it's going to change your perception the second you walk in. I know you talked about the cat litter box, and I'm not a fan of cats.
That is a pet peeve.
A pet peeve. No pun intended.
No play on words there at all. Yeah.
No pun intended.
So, but I truly do believe that one of the most things you can do to add value if you're going to sell your home is declutter. Yep. We have so much stuff in our house. It doesn't show our house. It shows us.
Declutter, keep it clean. Curb appeal is very important. Kitchens and baths sell houses. What are the improvements that you would highly recommend and other improvements that you would say probably not worth it?
One hand, you just nailed it. You know, the kitchen and the bathrooms are two of the major components. Now, what you're going to improve is a function of your local market. I live in Houston, Texas. You really need a high energy efficient air conditioner. I don't think that's a big value add process in New York City.
So if they're walking through the house and they're uncomfortable. They might want to get out of the house quicker and not buy it.
That too. but I mean, just for your, and we're actually, and our millennials are making us do this, and we've done it ourselves. We're looking at just not the purchase price of the transaction, but how much is it going to cost us to maintain and run that house?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of the term depersonalize?
Depersonalize. That's declutter, depersonalize. Get rid of all your own stuff.
Depersonalize. You
In
don't
other
want to have
words,
those
in other
photos
yes,
out.
in other words, if you are a fan of something and you have that particular poster all over your apartment, not everybody may like that aspect of the house.
Yeah,
or
well,
the
we're here.
apartment.
We're in the Met studio here, and I think the Mets paraphernalia would be good, but come to Houston, Texas with the Astros, and that's not going to work that way, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
Or the Yankees or what have you. So, again, you got to – I love the term depersonalized. I want it to look relatively neutral. I want it to look spacious and clean. I want it to have not a foul odor, hence the cat issue on that one. And the
Yes,
dogs the same way. When I moved to Houston 20 years ago, my house that I purchased in a very hot market had been on the market for 2 years. But the reason was they had 3 dogs inside, and no one could ever show it because they couldn't be there to get rid of the dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, and worse than that, they had her mother had passed away, as we do when we become old. And not only did they have all their own furniture in the house, they had all of her mother's furniture in the house, which means you thought you were in a used antique shop in a way with good and bad homes.
That is not staged.
And as a result, I made a low ball offer and got it. Again, I'm going to tell you, go back to your realtor, to your real estate agent, your broker. Listen to them. If they say you need to do this, do it.
Some say move out altogether.
If you can, I suppose.
Right, and then they come in and they restage or stage the apartment and make it.
Well, they need the rooms to really show to scale. And sometimes people are putting furniture in that's much bigger or too much of it.
That's
in the
exactly
case that
right.
you just said.
Yeah, and you said this.
And that can cost you.
I actually spoke at Sotheby's in Houston just a couple of weeks ago, and now we're doing virtual staging.
That's a big thing.
That is a
It
very
is a
big
big
thing.
thing.
Very big thing.
And not only that, they can do virtual staging with your furniture in that room. And so now you can say, I wonder what it'll look like with my stuff in here. You can see.
And here's what happens, though, right? You go on a listing and you do a virtual staging and you rearrange the furniture, and then they want to stay and they don't want to sell the house anymore.
Well, they can also put Chris Christie in each of the pictures of the room on the beach. That thing? No?
Big rooms. huh?
Well, yeah, you
Yeah.
could.
Big rooms.
Yeah, look, we could
Big
fit
room.
Chris Christie in this room. Think about that. That's better than a queen-size bed.
All right, moving on.
Okay,
As we should.
as we should.
I agree.
Thank you.
agree.
Or you're supposed
okay,
to be
I'm glad
protecting
you
us
agree.
here.
No, he agrees with moving on. We don't
Council's
wanna-
protecting us right now, guys.
Yeah, we're indemnified.
All right, what else do you want to talk about now?
So let me ask you. Talking about things that may hurt your house when it comes to renovating and appraising, right? Some people think that if they invest a certain thing or in a certain place, they will get 100% of the return, and sometimes you don't even affect the appraised value or the price.
Yeah, and I'll give you a good example of that. You know, I know someone recently who said, well, I just put in a $40,000 swimming pool in the backyard. Did it help?
No.
No.
In fact, there'll actually be some people that will not purchase that home because it has a pool in it.
That's exactly my point.
And here I live in Houston, Texas. I've actually had, in my previous house, one of my neighbors fill in their pool with sand
I
because they
had
didn't
someone
want a
do
pool.
that, yeah.
And so, again, first of all, I'm almost never seen any major improvement that's more than 100% value added. You do a $120,000 gourmet kitchen, you may not get $100,000 worth of value.
But
What
if you put a
happens
new
is it shows better. So they will tend to gravitate toward your home if it's priced right,
right.
because you have that $120,000 kitchen, but they're not going to pay for it more because it has to be priced consistent to what the market is dictating.
Some things are expensive, and the seller just has to understand they're not going to get their money back out of it. A good example of that would also be like we just put on a new roof. The buyer, I got news for you. The buyer expects the roof to be there.
So now I'm going to tell you about the millennials. When I re-roofed my house, my current house in Houston, this is a house built in the mid-'90s. It's almost 3,000 square feet, which is a small house in Houston. You need to understand that.
Everything's big in Texas.
Everything's big in Texas, yeah. And when I was there, my electricity bill was over $800 a month. And so when we re-roofed, in the interim, we put in new energy-efficient windows. We put in new SEER 21 air conditioners upstairs, downstairs. When I re-roofed, we put in thermoply decking. A year ago, August, my power bill was $121.
I'll take it.
Yeah. But
Wow.
So a lot of these improvements can be paid for long term. And our millennials in particular, they're sitting here saying, you know, I'm looking at not just my acquisition costs, but my monthly ownership costs.
Energy efficient.
Energy efficient, all these, and homeowners association fees are one of those, condo association fees. And so all that comes into play. So we need to look at the total cost of owning the home over the duration of the property.
So here's a question. Do you see solar as being a player? Solar heat as being a value add? Is it a player? How do you think it is affecting the market?
We can actually show you some homes in California that solar was a detraction.
A detraction?
Detraction.
Mm-hmm.
There was a study that was done. All right, let's talk about wind and solar. And let's talk about it. I don't care what your emotions are. Get your emotions off your sleeve. Let's talk pure economics. If we did not have federal government subsidies on it, we wouldn't build one of them.
Not one?
None. Not in the U.S. Now, if you're on a Caribbean island and you don't have any option, or you're in the outback in Australia where it costs you a lot of money and there's no power lines, that's a completely different answer. But today, we just don't have paybacks without the subsidies on wind and solar energy. It just is not there. One of the studies, and I actually tweeted about it, and someone got on me, these roofs, when they put on the solar panels, one of the installations they did in California, they found out that up to 40% of the roofs leaked afterwards.
That's not good.
No, it's not good. And worse than that, they were putting solar on older roofs. It's going to cost you $25,000 to $50,000 to have the solar panels removed, to put the new roof on, to put the solar panels back.
What ethical solar guy would say to someone that roof's okay to put solar panels on? Why wouldn't you just say, okay, we can't put solar panels on that. Get a new roof and then we'll talk.
Maybe they do say that, and the homeowner says, I want you to do it anyway.
You and I both know that the good ones, the good solar installation units, are going to say, you know what, that roof's going to be gone in 10 years and it's going to cost us $30,000.
Well, you know what, I'm selling my house next year anyway, so I just want to put it on.
And so
I think it's a selling point.
So one of the other
you
functions,
do get that.
one of the other functions we've seen on this same solar stuff is a lot of people are not owning the solar they put on it. There are companies that will own the solar on your house.
Right.
But people
But is it leased?
It is leased. But the people buying the house don't want that on there because they don't want that.
Oh.
So, and there are other people that will pay a premium for that. But I don't know if that's indicative of the market. And that's where your local expert will know. Again, I'm going to go back to that local realtor, that local appraiser that says, if you don't have this, it's not going to sell.
Well, it seems to be adding traction. I mean, locally, and that's why it intrigues me. It seems to be, I dismissed it 10 years ago. If I got approached by somebody about solar, I would have interpreted it as somebody trying to sell me snake oil. All right. But now it seems to be getting quite a bit of traction. You're seeing almost critical mass of the numbers of suburban homes around here getting solar panels. And the pitch is that, your bill is next to nothing. The Con Ed will actually buy from you. So you get a credit sometimes, which is astonishing. But it's hard for me to get my mind around how it's not feasible long term, I suppose. That's the thing. How long does the government have to subsidize this before it just gets a mind of its own?
Well, any technology, you look at the first. I'll go to all electric cars. Because Wall Street Journal a couple of weeks ago had a great article on how much it costs for batteries in electric cars. And this is pretty indicative of what we're talking about at houses. Literally, 2010, a kilowatt hour of battery storage for an electric car was $1,000. Today, it's down around $300, $270, $273 actually. That still means that the batteries for a typical Tesla, for example, are going to cost at least $20,000. And by the way, at $273 a kilowatt hour, it breaks even with oil at $300 a barrel. We're currently at $48 a barrel. Elon Musk thinks he can get those batteries down to $100. That breaks even with oil at $90. Well, that's oil's half that price today. Even if you were to achieve those changes, economically speaking, it doesn't make sense to do that. Now, it's neat that our electric utilities are purchasing the surplus, whether it's wind or solar. But at the same time, that means they're going to have to reinvest extra. We got a solar eclipse coming up.
Can't wait.
Yeah,
when that solar eclipse comes up, we're going to see every solar cell go off the grid at that point in time.
Really?
An hour and a half.
Okay, yeah, because
Because
there's no sun.
And so now the electric utilities are scrambling, thinking, how do we take that massive downturn? Because the Western U.S. has a lot more solar than y'all have. Unique weather here. I live in.
We're a little weird.
Yeah. Okay.
We talk funny too.
Y'all sure do. That's exactly right. Yeah. But that said, and they're going to have to deal with this. How do you replace that massive amount of energy that's going to go offline for that hour and a half? So as a result, other electric utilities have to invest more in backup turbine generators that spin up instantly to deliver that energy. You don't spin up a nuclear power plant. You don't spin up a big oil-fired plant. You don't spin up a big natural gas-fired plant. You're going to have these little small GE turbines that are going to do that. They cost more to operate, guys. So win, lose, but in the long run, technology is going to change, and we're going to start embracing it.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm for anything that's greener, but what cost is really the question.
To me, it's all about economics, dollars and cents.
Opportunity cost.
My SEER 21 air conditioner is my new Windows energy efficient. My thermal ply on my roof going from $800 to $121 in August electric bill. That's massive payback, and that's where I went.
Yeah, I dig that. I like the 120 more than the 800.
Yeah.
We're coming up to the close of our show already. Can you
Fine,
imagine?
Victoria.
So before we close this show, is there anything that we didn't cover that you really want our listeners to hear?
Well, real estate it's all about economics. Although the real estate economy is anywhere between 14 and 18% of the total U.S. economy. So if you look at it, we're a big player out there. But I want to tell everyone this: in the long run, owning your home for most will be beneficial. Again, you and I are going to agree with this. If you're not going to be there 3 to 5 years, I say 3 years in Texas. Let's go 5 years here because your transaction costs. Rent, don't own. And in New York City, with these we're going to have 20,000 new apartments coming online in the next 12 months. You're going to get some good deals renting. And we're going to get better deals, and our rents haven't gone up. And if anything, we may see a little bit of rent decline. We'll see. So opportunities coming up. But in the long run, for most Americans, your house, whether it's a co-op that you have stock in that you get to live in, that's the same thing to me.
Your residence.
Where it's a condominium or your house, it's going to be your largest single share and store of wealth.
I've heard that because of the federal savings of the $250,000 if you're single, or $500,000 if you're married, if it's your primary residence, then for sure own at least for 2 years.
Yeah, if you're primary dwelling, you really need to do that. I've actually done this. My previous home sale in Houston, when we sold it for a lot more than we paid for it, it was under $500,000 gain. We took that forward tax-free. Now, there are some other tax laws coming up, proposed changes about interest deductibility. About one of them that we'll mention briefly, that President Trump has proposed doubling the minimum standard deduction. That means if you own up to a $500,000 home, you probably won't itemize. On the other hand, I've never heard of anyone who bought a house just so they could itemize.
Just to itemize.
I think the house speaks for itself.
Yeah.
I get to live there. It's mine. I get to change it like it's me.
We're going to have you come back and touch on all the topics that we didn't touch on today. You are a wealth of information. Thank you very much, Dr. Ted Jones, Chief Economist for Stewart Title. We really appreciate you being here. How does someone follow you?
My blog, blog is Jones on Real Estate. Just Google that. Or my Twitter account, DRTCJ. And we're not leaving the studio until 100 people sign up.
Awesome. I want to thank my dedicated co-host, Lior Eldad, and Phil Ferranza, and all of our listeners. Please visit retalkradio.com to get information on our hosts, how to reach them, our topics, our podcast, and our blogs. Real Estate Talk airs every Sunday morning on AM 710 WOR. Until next time, I'm Victoria Rivadeneira. Thank you for listening to Real Estate Talk.